All right, guys, I think we're live. Things look like they're connected. Excuse me. If you can hear us, let me know. Or if you can't, let us know. If anything cuts out, please let us know so we can get it fixed. But we'll go ahead and jump on in. So welcome to week 14 or episode 14 of the Middle American Outdoors Fireside Chats. This week we got Ben and Jake both on again. And we've got it up and live on Facebook and YouTube, as you can see in the background. So feel free to chime in, leave comments, questions, anything you like, and I'll try to get to them as we're talking through the topics here. Tonight's topic is going to be basically what's next for Middle American Outdoors crew, as seasons are kind of winding down at different times for all of us, and we've all got some different plans coming up. And also just kind of a general look forward for Middle American Outdoors and our content that's coming and what you guys can look forward to. So let's go ahead and looks like I can bring Ben in at least.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
All right, Ben. So yeah, welcome on. It's hard to kind of try to DJ all this stuff, and we'll get Jake on when he's available. But what's been going on, Ben? You've got the big story, I guess you can lead off with. But
I don't
if
even
you're
know
ready,
if I want to tell it, man. You put me on the spot like that, calling me out. So my shotgun, I bought a shotgun tag this year. Just simply, one of my boys isn't really into archery, and I really wanted to go hunting with him. And we had a veteran and his son come out. So I went ahead and bought a tag. And the last day, I decided to go out and go hunting. And I had a doe come in right at first light. I just hunted from the ground, and she popped up over the edge of the creek at like 5 feet from me and busted me. And she took off, and I thought for sure she was just going to clear the woods. About 3 minutes later, I had 4 bucks come by on the other side. I mean, it sounded like a herd of elephants coming through the woods. Everything was cold and frozen, and leaves everywhere. And it sounded like they kind of was taking that same path, so I had to get moved. I moved over a tree, got kind of faced that direction, and I don't know if they heard me or they just caught my wind, but they spooked a little bit. I didn't quite know what it was, but they just got uncomfortable. They ran up on the ridge on the other side of the creek, and I'm sure Matt's got a picture of it because I sent it to him. But there was one buck that was rather large, and he stopped and offered a broadside shot, but I had a tree in the way, and I needed him to move at least a half a step, and I was going to have to hug the edge of that tree. Well, I hugged that tree just a little bit too tight and just grazed the tree. It's about 40 foot up in this tree, and the only reason I just happened to look up at it and seen where my bullet hit the tree and missed him. I was devastated. But yeah, that was the end of my shotgun season in Iowa.
so Ben was telling us about. I think you guys heard the story of the giant buck that Ben decided to shoot a tree.
Yeah.
Don't you watch any of what's his bucket on catching deers?
Oh, what's his name? Can't think of it.
I can't think of it right now. He always says, "Keep it out of the woods."
Oh, I didn't, man. A half inch, man. A half inch. I'd have been holding horns.
Of how big?
Oh, I don't want to lie, but he was over 160. Easy.
Yeah, at least.
At least. I mean, he was probably pushing 180, honestly, but conservatively, easily 160s.
Iowa problems. How far from your front
But
door?
I still have some archery left. Like we talked about last week, he was predictable. I knew where he was going to be. I was pleasantly surprised that he had 3 younger bucks with him, which was great to see. We've got a really goofy one that's on the property here. He's got a really nice 5 on his left side and just a snaggle mess on his right side. And we've been
Sounds
after
like a
him for
Jake
a couple
buck.
years, and he was with them, but he never offered a shot. But I'm gonna give him a few days. I'm gonna go back after him probably midweek around Christmas and
Yeah.
try again, man. But the worst case scenario, he'll just be bigger next year because I don't think there's anybody else around that's kind of after him. But
How far were you from your front door of your house?
from where I was at, about 200 yards.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
what's cool though is that was the first time I'd seen him all season. So we talked about that a little bit last week. You're going to start seeing different deer now. Because they're a lot of the ones that may have disappeared during the rut are going to start coming back, but you also may be bringing in some new ones because the whole hierarchy's changed. A lot of these bigger deer got shot. It starts getting mixed up a little bit. So this is actually my favorite time of year to hunt because it's like the beginning of the season. Everything's changed again, and you see some pretty neat stuff if you get out there and put in the hours this time of year.
They start going back to where they feel safe.
Oh, absolutely. That one, he'll be back. He was probably back there that afternoon.
You think there's a reason they
That
felt
guy ain't got a
safe?
chance. Daggone it. I buggered that one up, that's for sure. That one was all me.
Oh, that's funny. Well, there's not been too much going on. Jake will be back on, but I can say there's not too much going on for him in Kansas right now. He's out last weekend when I was down there and saw a little bit of movement, but no shooters. And he's been trying to lock back in on that atypical that he hit and wounded back in November 1st, I believe. He found him alive. He's got eyes on him, and he's locked back in on that atypical. He really likes those atypical bucks. So I know that's what if he gets a chance, that's what he'll be going for. It gets a little bit more difficult around the holidays, especially family stuff and little kids and everything else going on. So we might just have to kill him again next year. But getting into our topics then. So what lies ahead for Middle American Outdoors? We kind of did a little bit of updates of what's going on for us. I guess I didn't say for me, but not a ton going on. Had a chance to go out and do some pheasant hunting on Sunday, which was a ton of fun. Haven't got to do that in a while because I'm usually still pushing with the bow in December. But being fortunate to buck tag out here in Nebraska. Still got some doe management to do, but planning to do that late rifle with my daughter. So took advantage of the opportunity, went out and did some bird hunting with Brian Meyergard of Meyergard Game Birds. If anybody's on here and is looking to buy some game birds ever, this guy raises pheasants, quail, and chuckers all year long. I know he's still got a lot of quail left. I think they've sold out on their roosters for pheasants this year already. But really awesome birds. Got a video coming from that pheasant hunt, and we were actually hunting wild pheasants. We weren't shooting them out of his pens, don't worry. But you'll be able to see some of the images of his farm, and if you're really interested in looking into it, check out our buddies at Best Friend Outdoors on YouTube. It's a couple of his nephews, and they do some really cool video work. Totally different style than Middle American Outdoors, but really enjoyable. And they show some great footage of this kind of stuff they do out on the farm, on a game bird farm. Some cool drone footage, just all around funny and entertaining. So check those guys out at Best Friend Outdoors. Check out Meyergard Game Birds if you're interested in getting some birds to train your dogs or get some easy shots. He's got some beautiful roosters, that's for sure. But that's what I was up to this weekend then. And let's see. we kind of covered basically what we're doing for the rest of deer season. I've got the late doe season coming. I know if Jake doesn't get out, he was talking about being able to get out for the late doe as well in Kansas, try to get some meat for the freezer. Kind of heard what Ben's thoughts are on the rest of his season. He's got 2 buck tags to fill, isn't it? No, you got 1 buck tag now, right? Because that shotgun buck is
2.
gone.
I got 2. Well, yeah, the shotgun's over, so I got 1 left.
How does that work? You can get 3, you said?
Well, I get a landowner tag as well, so I can get $3.
How much land do you have to own in Iowa to be a landowner tag?
I don't know if it's just like I know in Nebraska you have, Nebraska you have to have, was it 80 continuous acres?
I
So you
think
have
so.
to have 1 plot that's at least 80 acres. In Iowa, I think it's 10, but I'm not sure.
Cool. So Ben will still be chasing them. Like you said, those late season deer can be amazing. So hopefully be some good content coming there. You guys that are on live, let us know what you're up to. Let's see. Tim Wilson is on YouTube and he says he's looking to hunt Christmas. What are your thoughts, Ben, on heading back to the trees versus hunting field edges around late December here?
It depends on your bedding. If you've got really good bedding between your food sources, if you can get in there and get close, that's probably get close to their bedding. That's probably your best bet, because these deer have been pressured, especially right now. These deer have been pressured really hard these last few weeks. I know in Nebraska, your rifle season was over here fairly recently. Iowa just ended. So your deer are going to be coming out. They may even be nocturnal right now. So the closer you can get to their bedding, the better you're going to be. Or, if you're going to hunt in the evening, if you're going to hunt in the morning, like I did the other day, I got between their food source and their bedding, but I was a little closer to their food source. That just really worked really well for me. And it's going to be a little different everywhere else. You just, like I say, get out there and put the time in and study them, be a student of the sport.
Perfect. So hopefully that helps, Tim. And the next thing I've got my little list here to keep us rolling. The next thing I had written down is the Nebraska Deer and Game Expo. And I guess from what I was seeing and hearing, it might be the only big game expo in the entire country this year.
Yeah, every other one I know has been canceled.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're going through with it.
I saw some stuff on, Working Class Bow Hunters Facebook page, actually, where they were talking about that. So an update from what we know, it's still on for January 15th through the 17th. I think it's full go. Might get postponed a month. I don't know for sure, but right now it's full go for the 15th through the 17th until we hear differently. Our plans for there at the expo, we will definitely have a booth. I believe that Ben, Jake, and myself will all be there, hopefully all together. Some might be coming and going. I don't know for sure. I know I'll probably be there all weekend, the whole time, and hopefully staying around for socializing afterwards and meeting people. We will be presenting a self-filming seminar, one of the, those 1-hour sessions. I think we present it once on Friday, twice on Saturday, and we don't go on Sunday. So 3 different times you can watch and attend that self-filming seminar. I'll be working on that soon. Basically, we're just going to focus on the self-filming side. I'm not going to get too deep into the production or the channel organizational side. Just keep it, with only an hour. For those guys that have been on the podcast and listened to us talk with Matthew Reeves from Southern Pursuit, there's just so much you can go into in an hour that I don't want to get down too many rabbit trails. So we're just going to kind of focus on what it takes to get into self-filming for beginners, gear-wise, some tips on some stuff to shoot when you're filming, etc. So we'll hope to see you guys there. Come by the booth, see some of our equipment. You can put hands on our equipment. We plan to bring all of our equipment because we all have different stuff. And you can kind of see some of the stuff we've gone through. And yeah, you got anything else for the expo?
No, I just look forward to seeing everybody. If you get a chance to come out, it's gonna be a good time.
Absolutely. And let's see. For those guys that are on live, let us know if you're planning on being at the expo. It might be the only one in the nation, so it really might be just inundated with people. Might be pretty crazy. We'll be on a corner booth over by the bar, so we won't be hard to miss. Let's see. Otherwise, looking at Middle American Outdoors content, what's coming? You guys have seen, obviously, we were really cranking out videos through the rut with 2 hunting videos and a gear or DIY video every week, along with the Fireside Chat live and the podcast, all in 1 week for several weeks in a row there, and we've kind of slowed it down a little bit. What you can look forward to coming up soon, stuff like right before this, I just went live on Ben's follow-up review on the Hawk Helium saddle. So you guys can go check that out. He did a first impression straight out of the box back when he got it at the beginning of the season. Hunted out of it all season. I mean, Ben, you can tell us about it. I don't know why I'm talking about it. You tell us about it.
Yeah, it's cut and dry. Honestly, there are better options, but if you're not going to be if you're not a real serious hunter, you're only going to go out, a handful of times a year, and you're a smaller person, it's not a bad fit. But if you hunt hard and you put a lot of hours in the tree and you're a bigger person, I would recommend investing in a little better quality. There's certain parts of it that are subpar, and if I do continue to use it, which I most likely won't, a lot of that stuff's going to be replaced. So I would have been better off financially and comfort wise to get a little better piece of equipment. But I don't want to give out too much. Go out and watch the video and make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Absolutely. We need to start
help
pushing that a little
out.
bit more. When you guys are watching the lives, hitting the subscribe button, hitting the likes really helps us. Doesn't cost you anything. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave a review. Leave a rating. Those are the things that help us get our podcast shared and keep growing. It's been growing over the last probably 6 weeks pretty good. We'd like to keep that rolling, and you guys can really help us to do that just by leaving good reviews and leaving good ratings, subscribing, liking, etc., sharing with your friends. We plan to keep doing this anyway because we love it, but it would be cool to see it grow. Otherwise, some other content. So we talked about the Hawk saddle. We've got a video coming out. I'm planning on releasing it Christmas Eve. And it is, I think it's one of my favorite videos, but I say that every video I do, obviously, after I edit it. Ben's seen it. What's your teaser or take on it, Ben?
You're gonna get goosebumps, man. If you love to hunt, you're gonna love it. It's fantastic. It's my favorite one. Out of any video I've ever watched, and I may be somewhat biased, but man, I tell you, it is awesome. My boy Wyatt and I were processing one of his deer, and we had to stop and watch it, both of us. It was just, it had my attention. I couldn't just keep doing. I'm messing with sharp knives, trying to watch it, and I had to stop and watch the whole thing. It's awesome.
Yeah. So Ben had a veteran out and a good bow hunt earlier, and then he brought his son back for his first deer hunt and during first shotgun in Iowa. And yeah, it's epic. It's Donald. It's just, I believe, his first time filming.
Yep.
And the filming content is legit. And it's his son's first deer kill, or first deer hunt. And yeah, it's just awesome. It's awesome parenting. It's awesome outdoorsmanship.
It totally encapsulates everything we're about here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I've watched it probably 6 times in editing, start to finish, and I'm hooked every time. So hope you guys will watch it. It'll be out Christmas Eve. We got a little trailer coming for it that you'll see on social medias, and yeah, we'd like to really see it go big because these guys are awesome and they deserve it. Other content, we'll keep going with the gear reviews, the DIY stuff. As the hunting starts to slow down, I'll do more like DIY. I do a ton of tinkering. For the people that have seen my gear, I'm always messing with something, especially during season when I can't be messing with my bow. I mess with my gear quite a bit. And so I've got, a series coming out on my bee sticks and all the mods I did to my bee sticks to get them to where they are today. And kitchen wise, MAO kitchen wise, I think we're going to get Ben to do a video on canning deer meat, which none of us do, but we'll take his word for it.
Yeah, we with Wyatt's deer, we canned up probably, I don't know, a little over 20 jars, and that's what he ate for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
His first time he ate canned deer, that he did. Dad, this stuff's legit. This is awesome.
How do you eat it? What do you do with it?
Anything you want. I mean, you can eat it right out of the jar cold. It's after school snack.
Yeah.
Wyatt just warmed it up and threw it on a bed of rice and ate it that way. You can do beef and noodles, beef stew. Depending on how you prepare it, you can do like a pulled meat sandwich, barbecue sauce. It's very versatile, and it keeps a long time, and it's delicious.
How long can it keep that way?
Officially 18 months, but yeah, it never, I mean, it's going to be lucky the last 2 months in my house, but I've had people tell me it keeps forever. It just degrades in quality, but I'm always a little leery about it because of botulism.
Yeah.
That's something you really got to be careful with when you're canning, but like I said, it never lasts that long at our house anyway. It really is that good. And the nice thing about it is, you don't have to use your prime cuts for that. You still get your steaks and your roast. Use your lesser quality meat for your canning, and it turns it into something that's just amazing.
I'll have to try it sometime when we get down there.
Oh yeah, I'll send you home with
some. So check that out. Other kitchen. I've got some picture cooking tutorial videos I'm going to be putting together so far this year or in the last month with that whitetail. We did pulled pork or pulled venison sandwiches using Ben's recipe, and they were dynamite. So I took pictures along the way, and I'm just going to put it together in a video with instructions that way. And it won't be like a Martha Stewart kitchen show, unfortunately. And if you guys haven't seen, we've got one MAO kitchen video out from last year. Jake and his fiance Mandolin did chicken fried backstraps, which is a staple in our household too, now that Jake taught me how to do that. We did that last year for Christmas, and we plan to do it again this year for Christmas here in our house. And that video is pretty cool. That's more of a Martha Stewart kitchen style. And let's see, I also did just smoked backstrap, bacon wrap backstrap. And I do a picture tutorial on that on a video coming out eventually. Yeah, if you guys have any stuff you want to see, if you want to see us review any gear, or any DIY stuff that we do that maybe we haven't covered because we didn't think it was worth covering or didn't even cross our mind, just let us know and we can do that. I know Timothy Wilson is on, and he did a guest video on Muddy cell cam that he had bought, first impression out of the box, and he's planning to do another follow-up on that after using it for a year. Stuff like that's cool. If you guys want to try your hand at some self-filming or some video work, get your face on the internet a little bit, let us know. We're happy to bring on guest reviews as well for gear that we don't have to buy then that you guys have bought. Anything like that, like we're all for it, totally all for it. Can't think of anything else specific coming up on content. Obviously, we'll keep working through our hunting content. I've got to get through Jake's hunts. Those are going to be coming out soon. He's done a reflection on when he missed the big, or he wounded the big atypical and what happened after that and what's happened since. So we'll start working through his series of videos. I've got my rifle hunt with Joanna, and I've got obviously the big mule deer muzzleloader hunt that will come out eventually. We're just going to kind of slowly work through those and make sure we get good content, high quality video for good content as well. So you'll see those trickling out. We'll bridge then into turkey season. Unfortunately, Jake and I haven't been much of turkey hunters, so we'll probably lean a lot on Ben for that content, as he's a heavy turkey hunter. Maybe we'll dabble in it a little bit more. I've obviously got that pheasant hunt video coming. Different stuff like that. We'll just try to keep it going. Once we get in the summer, we're dang sure doing some bass or some bow fishing videos. And Ben's huge in that. I used to do a little bit of it in western Nebraska and look forward to getting back into that. And I think that'll make for some cool footage. We're just going to kind of keep it going, keep showing you guys different stuff you can do outdoors, bringing in guest content as well. And yeah, you got anything else for content?
No, I invite people to, if there's something you want to see, by golly, let us know, and we'll do our best to oblige. I mean, this is for you guys. We do it just because we enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun for us, and it's a learning moment for us as well. So if there's something you want to see, let us know.
Definitely, that helps us. I mean, we try to keep coming up with ideas and different stuff, but like I said, some of it maybe we just take for granted that everybody would know. I ran into that a lot when I was really getting into hunting. It was just small stuff that people that are experienced take for granted, and they don't know to, share that information. So if we're overlooking something, just point it out so we can try to help. And let's see. The next one I had was gear management. I know you're still hunting pretty hard, but what do you typically do, Ben, as the season's winding down or over, to properly take care or manage your gear?
Well, I do a lot of cell cam work. I like to try to keep tabs on what's still around, what made it through the season. And I have a lot of food plots that are geared towards late season. So that actually starts in the springtime. I start planning my food plots to help those deer through the hard parts of winter. And so I spend a lot of time on those areas, keeping track of what they're eating, and also keep track of what they're eating, what they're not eating. So if I'm putting something in the ground, putting in the time and effort, and if it's not something they're using, there's no point in me doing that next year. So obviously there's something in the area where they're getting that nutrition value from that they don't need from what I'm putting in the ground. And that varies, a mile away. That same thing could be just getting hammered, something they're not using here. So it's very specific to your core area that the deer use in your area. So I spend a lot of time paying attention to that, and that's where a lot of my camera work goes on in the food sources this time of year. Something I did notice this year already, we've got deer that are dropping their antlers already. So a lot of my time late season is usually spent trying to thin the doe herd down a little bit. We've got way too many does in my area, so we've got to be very diligent and make sure if we're going to shoot a doe that it is actually a doe, because we've got some that are already shedding antlers. So that's something to pay attention to in the late season, especially if your season pushes off into January. There was a time here in Iowa where they had a late antlerless season. You could use a high-powered rifle, and a lot of bucks got killed during that time. I think that's a lot of the reason they stopped it, just simply because a lot of those bucks have shed their antlers already.
Yeah,
that's
they do that
pretty
a little
much all
bit
I
in
got on that.
Nebraska. Last year they extended the late rifle season in some units, and I guess to each their own. Opportunistic people took that as an advantage to shoot antlerless deer that weighed 280 pounds. So it's legal. I guess it's legal. So we're not going to bash on it, but it really does hurt going forward. Your state's big buck population. But I think there's some units this year even that they extended late rifle. I'm not positive, but I think it was again. And they do that because they need doe management. So try to help the conservation officer people and do what they do it for. You need to manage does. I really need to hold myself accountable to get out and get after the does after taking 2 bucks. I'd really like to take, at least 2 does per buck. Either have a super stocked freezer or, if I need to, to donate something, but to try to help with that conservation effort. When they sell tags, it's for a reason, for so many of each. And if you buy a bunch of doe tags like I did and you don't fill them and you fill your buck tags, it kind of skews those numbers, makes it hard to manage. So really need to hold myself accountable to get out there and get after those does. But otherwise, gear management, for me, gear management wise, if you guys could see my truck during hunting season, I mean, it's just totes and totes and totes of gear. And you've seen my gear dumps from my bags. Like, I manage a lot of gear. So I start going through it, and now I'm going through, like, what do I actually really need for the next year and stuff like that. Obviously, making sure camo that's not going to be used anymore is getting put away, where it's going to be not picking up scent all year long, etc. I happen to have a scent closet that really helps. And otherwise, yeah, obviously fixing up gear, separating it out, just getting it put away here. I have way too much gear. The big thing for me is going to be whittling down what I'm actually taking with me to the tree during bow season, not overkilling it like I had done this year. But when you're new to some of this stuff, when you're new to big time self-filming and the big time gear, tend to overkill. And I'd rather overkill and break my back going in than forget something that I absolutely need. That'll be a big part for me during the off season. What about the transition to turkey? What are you doing right now? You said you were talking about turkey hunting right now. How do you manage that?
Right now, it's just an opportunistic thing that I have yet to kill a turkey in the fall, but because usually I'm focusing on deer, and I don't know what it is about trying to shoot a turkey out of a tree. It seems like it's impossible. Them suckers are always looking up, but they do hit the food plots just like the deer do. Last Friday, I had I don't know, probably 20 or 30 turkeys in one of my plots in midday. So had I been sitting in the blind that day, I definitely would have took one. But they're all bunched up in their groups, kind of like the deer are. The toms are kind of in their own little groups. The hens are off in their group. It's kind of nice to keep tabs on just what's around. We have a huge turkey population here in my area, so generally it's not too hard to get one in the spring. But this time of year, I don't put a whole lot of thought into it. I don't put too much effort into them. If I get one that offers me the opportunity, I'm definitely going to fill that tag. But it's more of an opportunistic type thing.
And for looking into the future, the guys that are wondering what's lying ahead for us, about when do you really start going after them in the spring? Like, what are your season dates?
I'm not even sure. I haven't looked at it yet. Probably should have looked at that beforehand.
Something like March, usually?
Yeah, it's usually right around my birthday in March. I want to say Iowa does it a little different than Nebraska. Again, they've got your archery season this spreads out over all 4 seasons, but they do it similar to their shotgun season. Like your first season, you just got a few days. Second season's a little bit longer, and then so forth. The late season for shotgun turkey is pretty long, but I usually just get a archery tag, but which is nice because I can take my bow out there with me, and if I've got a guest with me or something like that, we try to fill their tag first, and then hopefully I get that mean old Tom that wants to come up and beat up one they shot and give me an opportunity. Haven't had that happen yet, but I'm hoping it will this year, so we can get it on film. It'd be cool to double up with a shotgun and a bow.
Yeah. I think, I can't speak to the Nebraska stuff. I usually get a turkey tag in hopes and don't end up getting to do anything, but I think bow opens sometime in March, and it's bow for quite a while, and then shotgun comes on, and it's just, there's not separate shotgun seasons off and on. It's once shotgun's on, it's on.
Right.
It seems like it's till May, maybe.
Yeah, it goes pretty late in Nebraska, and they're, it's kind of like the deer season except backwards with Iowa. I think Iowa starts, or maybe Nebraska starts earlier. I can't, I'm not sure. I never really paid attention to it, but I know the season dates are opposite of each other.
Starts sometime in 2021 and it ends sometime in 2021. So look for that. I mean, I'll hopefully be doing a lot more upland bird. You guys will see on the video, we've got 2 short hair pointers. And out at Meyergard Game Birds, they don't just raise game birds, they also breed short hair pointers. And so we had one of our dogs and a bunch of their dogs out working, and it was just a ton of fun. You got to get that pride, like watching your kids do something, watching your dogs do it. And hopefully we'll be doing more of that. I'm more apt to give time in doing upland bird and working the dogs, and then just see if I get a chance to go turkey hunting or not. Let's see. I mean, I've got the after-season scouting to get to, but anything else you can think of, Ben, for what lies ahead for us, or topics, or anybody that's on the line?
We'll be doing kind of what ties in with the turkey season, which I really love that time of year because there's so much going on. We've got mushroom hunting. We'll be doing shed hunting. Shed hunting usually starts as soon as deer season's over with, and that kind of goes into the scouting too, just seeing what made it through the season. The fishing really kicks on, the spring crappie spawn, and then the bow fishing will be kicking off. But I absolutely love the springtime here. Everything's coming to life, and the mushroom hunting's a huge thing in my area. So that's, we're usually, when we're mushroom hunting, the kids are looking for mushrooms. I'm looking for antlers, and so we're really looking forward to spring.
I totally forgot about shed hunting, which if Jake was on, that's all he'd be talking about. That guy, I mean, he likes deer hunting. He loves shed hunting, and he's got an eye for it. There's no doubt about it. Like, I think we joked before, but he paid for his college books for a semester by selling sheds.
Yeah.
Like a truck bed full of sheds. But he'll definitely be out doing that. I've gone mushroom hunting once or twice, so that's cool. Another cool little insight you can look into what's out there for outdoors, just based on the difference between Jake, Ben, and myself and what we get out and do. So we try to bring you that variety of content for sure. I guess if anybody is on the live, there's quite a few people on between Facebook and YouTube. If any of you guys got any questions, any topics you want to hear us talk about while we're on here right now, let us know. We got a good 20 minutes. We can hang out and chat with y'all. Maybe Jake will be on here in a bit, but otherwise we'll kind of talk a little bit about late season scouting. I think we're going to just kind of dive into just a touch, and as a teaser, we'll go into this more in depth when it's getting really close to that late season scouting. But the guys that are on, feel free to chime in, let us know what you're up to, or any questions or topics that you have for Ben and I that are on right now. This is your chance. So let us have it, man. We'll hang out with you for a while. Otherwise, let's start talking about late season scouting or after season scouting. What's some of that kind of look like for you in general, Ben?
Well, like I when you were talking earlier, you was talking about your after season gear stuff. Thought you was talking about after season gear. Like I said, I focus a lot of attention on my food plots, doing a lot of camera work just to see what made it through the season. It gets a little easier to know what's around again because they're starting to bunch back up. So generally, if you see a buck, if there's 3 or 4 in the area, they're probably more than likely they're back together again here as the season gets, as the winter gets a little harder. Again, you'll start seeing them lose their sheds or the shedding their antlers. So if you're done hunting, now's a good time to get out there and start kicking the weeds and seeing what you can find for sheds. I think the camera work is very beneficial this time of year. You can check your quality or how healthy the deer are. Again, you can see, keep an eye on your food plots, seeing what they're eating, what they're not. If there's, so that way it prepares you for next season, to be able to offer those deer what they're going to need in that late season. I think it's pretty important, especially nowadays compared to how it used to be, just because agriculture's changed so much. Everywhere you look, it's cornfields and soybeans, and that stuff only gets them so far. They get to where they rely on that instead of their natural browse. There's a lot of things you can plant that are going to be beneficial to that animal throughout the whole year. So where they're not relying on them on the ag fields.
Well, one thing I'd piggyback back off of what Ben said, where he was saying if you're done hunting, start getting your boots on the ground. Be courteous on public ground. There's people still out there hunting. Just think if you were still trying to fill your tag and some guy's just storming around shed hunting in December. Be a total not nice move. But if you have private ground, definitely. If you picked up new private ground, like you picked up a new lease for next year and you don't know anything about it, this is a great time to be out there. Boots on the ground, especially fresh snow, fresh rain, looking for fresh tracks, looking for behavior. Piggyback off of some of the stuff we said earlier, this is when they're coming back to where they feel safe. And so this is a great time to be figuring that out on a new lease that you have private access to and you're not boogering it up for anybody else. Where we're at,
this is the prime time to get into those. Go in and check out that bedding area. You don't have to be afraid about bumping deer. You bump a deer is actually a good thing. You can visually see what was in there. You can get in deep to those spots and really pick them apart and figure out what they're about and get out before the next season. And you've got to, and that's where your like your Onyx and stuff like that really comes into play. You can get in and just map out that whole property on what you see firsthand while you're at the spot.
Absolutely. Like where, Tim Wilson that's on here, he lives up where I live. And the public ground around here gets just hammered during rifle season. And honest to God, I've never found a single shed in there on any of them. And I put some serious boots on the ground, shed hunting. So getting in there looking for sheds is pretty tough. Tim, if you're on here and you're thinking about it, I've never found a single shed on the public properties around here just because they get hammered so hard during rifle that I think the deer are gone for quite a while. They've gone back to where they felt safe. Otherwise, let's see, our late season scouting. I know that we've kind of picked up some new leased ground for next year. We're just kind of biding our time, waiting for the season to kind of wind down a little bit more and get in there and start really pushing around and figuring out different planting. Let's say guys are looking at food plots for next year. Ben, what kind of stuff would you recommend? You were talking about more sustaining year-long stuff. What kind of stuff would you recommend?
Oh, just your natural grasses. And it depends on what's around. And every area can be different. For my property here, there's not a lot of that late season browse for them. So I'll plant a lot of turnips. That works great for late season. The stuff that stays green year round, your alfalfa, winter wheat, oats, stuff like that that stays green throughout the winter. For one, it really attracts them and it holds them fairly close, but also it gives them a good nutritional value that's going to last, as opposed to corn or soybeans. I think that the deer go to that corn just because it's easy pickings and there's not a lot of competition for them out there. They can get out there at night and they feel safe. They can see. There's a lot of natural grasses, and I'm kind of getting my feet wet into those on grasses that the deer will use, and I need to study that a lot more. And I'm hoping to get some more out on that at a later date.
Hey, Carly.
Matt says hi. Want to say hi? Say hi to Matt.
Let's see. So if Tim's on here, and he said, he's seen one deer since rifle, none on the camera, and I know the public piece that he's talking about. Obviously, we talk about it all the time, and says this would be his first year looking for sheds. I also know that he has new access to a private piece for the upcoming year, and it's a river bottom bin. How would you, like, if you were in Tim's situation and you've not really hunted this new private piece, if you wanted to still try to hunt this year, how would you go about getting in there? Would you just bull rush it, or what would be a smart way for him to try to hunt his way in, even if it's late season rifle here? I think he's bow hunting right now still, but he's going to be transitioning probably to late season rifle in January.
It depends on what you're using, whether it be a bow or a gun. If you're using a gun, I'd probably hold back a little bit, hunt the edges, field edges, play the wind. When I gun hunt, I hunt with the same mentality I do when I'm bow hunting. I prefer to get closer, just me personally, but
you and me both, brother. Give me a muzzle loader in western Nebraska and I still find my way into a tree with the saddle on.
I just think it's, I don't know, that's just my personal preference, I guess. But, if you're hunting with a bow, you still got to push in a little tighter. If there's a field edge close by, scout from afar. Go out there in the evenings, the day before from the truck, park along the side of the road with binoculars, and try to find the closest grain source to that area and see if the deer are using it, and then try to set up between them. But you got to know where they're bedding, though, because if you don't know where they're bedding, you're just kind of flapping in the breeze, just shooting for the wind. Knowing their bedding area is vital, especially in the late season, because they're not really cruising. There's three things they got on their mind: food, water, and cover. That's it. And because they're not worried about chasing does. They're worried about restoring that fat they lost. Because the winter gets brutal after the rut. So you got to set up between one of those three. And I guess you don't necessarily have to know where their bedding is, but you got to know where they're coming from, at least the general direction. So if you can get that food source, find out where they're entering, and then work that trail back from there. And like I said, you want to get as close as you can, especially this time of year, because they're nocturnal or close to it. Most of the deer I'm seeing right now are right at sunset. So, you got to get as close to their bedding as you can.
What do you look for I'll cover Doe Bedding where we're at. So similar properties is what Tim's talking about with the river bottoms. Man, does bed hard on inside bins on rivers around here. If you just pull up the topo of the property you have and you're lucky to have an inside bend, if that inside bend has, thick cover that's not, we've talked about this before, they're not looking for skyscraper cottonwoods that cover from an aerial view. They're looking for 3 or 4 foot tall junk. And when you find an inside bend that's just covered in that junk through the point, they're thick in there. And that's what I've seen on the private properties I hunt around here. It's what I've seen on the public properties. It's just where they like to bed. But what would you look for then if you're targeting like a buck bed here in December?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's going to be thick, nasty stuff where they're bedding at, and they prefer to have something at their back, like a river, if they've got that, or a steep cutoff bank, somewhere where they, nothing's going to get them from that side. Nothing can get to them from there. So they've got to focus their attention one direction, and they can actually focus their attention 2 directions because they can play the wind from here and they can see over this way. But there's also got to be a good exit route. And that's something I think gets overlooked a lot, is their exit route. Because I can't tell you how many times I've bumped a deer, and it doesn't matter which direction I go, there's a way that deer can get away from me without being shot. They made it to this far in the season because they had a good exit route. So, study your topo maps, and if you can, and this is when that late season scouting comes into play for next year, because you can go right into that thick stuff and you can see, all right, they go out this way, to the south. So you're going to look at your map and say, all right, why are they going this way? What is it about it that helps them survive? You kind of got to look at it from a prey aspect rather than a predator. Why would I go this way if somebody comes from this way, or vice versa? So the exit routes are very important.
There was.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say the only way to figure that out is to get in there and study them.
There was when Joanna and I were shed hunting in 2020. Here is back in like March, somewhere in there. We were on a river bottom public piece, different than the one Tim's talking about, and we came into a buck bed. And if you guys are curious, check that video out. Send me a message and I'll send you a link to that video on our YouTube channel, because I walked around and I showed you aspects of that buck bed, and it was definitely a lone buck, and he was bedded 4 or 5 feet into just a super thick, thorny brush, and he kind of had a hole. It was almost like a cave, and I was so shocked we didn't find his sheds in there, but he was bedded in there. And what Ben was saying, I actually highlighted in that video. We walked down. He had like 4 or 5 escape routes in there, and he had great view out to the south and west. And you figure we get a lot of northeastern winds around here, obviously. So he's got all that northeastern wind blowing up behind him in that property. So he can smell you coming if you're coming from that parking lot to the east, or to the west, sorry. It's northwestern winds that blow through here, and the parking lot's to the west. His bedding and exits are all to the south and east, basically. And on all those exits, there was just crazy rubs down every single exit that he had. And I'm assuming, that's probably his bed going into the rut. And it's also obviously where he feels safe. He's going to be coming back into. It's just a good example of what the buck bed looks like. So with mule deer, like when I was out west, they group up hard. I mean, we were onto a group of probably 40 to 60 mule deer within the first day of being there. And we actually watched them to go to bed, just familiar with that part of Nebraska. And they all go to bed together during the day. There's bucks and does everywhere. But even with the whitetail, obviously you start to see them group up some, especially the does and all their yearlings now. they start to group up pretty hard. But do you see, Ben, from your experience, do you see whitetail, doe, and bucks start to bed together, or do they still bed separate?
From my experience, they stay fairly separate, especially the bigger ones. You'll see the younger, the yearlings, 2-year-olds. You'll see them with the does quite a bit, but the big guys generally stay to themselves.
Okay.
Just from my experience.
Do you see like more bachelor grouping then?
Yeah, just this last Sunday, for instance, those 4 bucks obviously came from feeding all together, and they were literally one after the other, nose to butt, coming through the timber. So I think they stay grouped up, but when they go bed, I don't think they're going to all be laying together. Especially the the big guy. He's going to go off in his little area and keep his space.
That's, even with the mule deer, I would say with that group of 40 or 60 like we saw, the bucks are kind of spread out. I would say they're all in like a 8 to 10 acre patch, if even that. It might be even smaller than that, of where they were in this draw that they all bedded down in. But the bucks are kind of sprinkled throughout there. But they're totally different. It seems like mule deer are much more like elk than whitetail. Let's see. I don't want to get too deep into late season scouting or after season scouting. We're going to kind of dive into this more with all 3 guys at some point here.
Right. Well, one other thing that I haven't done in a long time, I've kind of been, I don't know if I'll get back into it this year, but trapping season. I used to trap a lot, but fur prices kind of bottomed out here a few years ago, and I just kind of got out of it. But with what we're doing now, I kind of look at getting back into it just for a little extra something. But this is a great time if you're into trapping. It's another nice, fun, can be lucrative financially, but these last years it's been trash. That's something I get back to a little bit, is a little added content.
Hold on, Ben. Try that again about trapping.
Oh, it did it. X me out.
It went like super slow, and then it went normal, and then it picked up the pace and just ripped through
it. I kind of wondered you had that look on your face. Years ago, I used to do a lot of trapping, so I've considered getting back into it since we've started doing this, since I come on with you guys. Just getting back into it just for the content. But I said fur prices kind of bottomed out here a few years ago. So I got out of it personally. But it's another avenue for getting out in the outdoors if that's something you're interested in. If you'd like to see some content from that, let us know. I'd be more than happy to pull the traps out of retirement and put them back to work. I do have a major coon problem, so I have no problem going trapping a bunch of coons. And it'd be kind of fun, especially Carly here. She loves going outdoors, and I think it'd be something she'd really enjoy and can be directly involved in. Trapping something, if you've got a kid that can't sit in a deer blind, can't be quiet, can't be still, trapping is the perfect way to get them out chasing animals. There's a direct result, and every time you go out, it's a surprise, and it's constantly engaging. So that's something, if you want to see us do it, I probably won't unless somebody says, yeah, I'd like to learn about it. I'll go ahead and do it, but otherwise I probably won't, just because it's a lot of time and effort with not a whole lot of financial reward, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of fun, though.
I know last year I wanted to get into it, and I actually bought all the equipment and everything, bought a bunch of number 2 traps, and I actually even dyed them and waxed them, did everything. I just never got them out. The property I was going to do it on, he put the cattle back in, and I didn't want to, risk anything there. And but I think there's different property to do it on this year. Coyote hunting, Jake is a big time coyote hunter as well. If he was on, he'd tell you about it. They do a lot of predator hunting out there in northwest Kansas and makes a lot of money on it, honestly.
Yeah, coyotes are actually up this year, I guess, from what I hear.
Oh my gosh, I just had a picture of a coyote on one of my private access leases that he looks like a well-maintained husky. Like, he looks
I've seen a
beautiful
lot
and
of
he's
real pretty
huge,
coyotes this year.
well fed. So for the deer hunters that are on here, do your part. Get out and kill coyotes, man. I hope to do it some more this year just to work on gun skills, even if we can get out and trap. Ask some questions from whoever's local for you. Usually there's fur traders. There's a fur trader that comes through my hometown here every weekend at this time of year, and they pay a pretty good price for those coyotes. And you don't got to do nothing. Just trap them or kill them and hang them and freeze them and bring them in. And you can get a good amount of money doing that kind of stuff. And that is going to play a huge role in managing your deer population. Those suckers kill fawns like crazy. So the more you can kill between now and the fawns being born in March or whatever, big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, you heard the coyotes in that first video I did
Yeah.
this year. That doe, in my area anyway, coyotes are just super thick.
Yeah,
And
you had
we
shot
will be
that
doing.
doe and knew it went down. Had to be, high liver shot maybe, but definitely was going to die. Probably died within 200 yards. And how long was it that you went back and coyotes were screaming?
Oh, it wasn't even an hour. And I know they were on her. That's right where she went. They weren't 50 yards from us.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was at least half a dozen of them.
Yep. It's one thing when they take your deer away that you killed, but they kill fawns like crazy. I saw on a message board the other day a pack of coyotes taking down a big mature buck on trail camera, and it was just, it's devastating.
Well, and that's something I pay attention to early season is how many of those does have their fawns with them. And this year was probably the worst, which I've kind of been a little hesitant to shoot does this year just because there were so many of them that didn't have a fawn survive. But I know without a doubt that it was definitely the coyotes. Because I seen them earlier in the year when they still had their fawns on them, and I've got the same group of does that frequent my field, and it just seemed like every week there was another one missing. And they're not above taking down a mature buck. I mean, them things are ruthless.
That's maybe a good way to get an in with a farmer. If you're wanting to get on some private ground, and go out there and see if they'll let you coyote hunt and do them a favor. Like, that's a legitimate favor. If you can go out there and kill coyotes that are going to kill their livestock and kill their calves and kill, their chickens and whatever else, you get some access. You get to do some fun predator hunting, and maybe that, you're doing them a favor. Maybe that comes back to give you an in down the road. I know I talked to some of these guys in Nebraska quite a bit about different tips on how to get private access, etc., and that's probably a good in.
Yeah, that worked real well for me out in Nebraska when I lived out there. If you was willing to go out where they've got cattle and hunt coyotes, very rarely did they say no.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe in Nebraska you can hunt coyotes at night with night vision now.
I heard something about that. I know in Iowa they recently changed it to where you can use infrared or you can use night vision. I'm not sure if you can use infrared yet, but you can use thermal. So
Yeah.
that was a big deal here in Iowa.
That might be what it is. And you can use electronic calls for sure. I did look that up today.
Yeah.
But obviously look up your rules on your hunting if you're going to go try to do it. Don't take our word for it. Look it up.
Yep. Call the game warden every time.
Yep.
Call the game warden.
So anyway, yeah, I think that pretty well summarizes what Middle American Outdoors is up to, and dipped our toes in the water for late season, after season deer scouting, whitetail specific. If you guys listen to this, you got any questions, make sure you just jump over to our Middle American Outdoors Facebook business page or the community chat page and leave some questions or comments. Get a hold of us on our personal pages, whatever. And a big plug again, that if you guys are liking what Middle American Outdoors is doing, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, like the videos, go to the Facebook page and follow. There are 2 Facebook pages. There's the business page where we post a lot of content and there's not a lot of interaction. And then there's the community chat page group, which is where anybody can post, we can comment, we can talk. You guys can post pictures and stuff and we can grab that from you and put it up on our main page if you'd like, anything like that. So join those things, like the stuff. If you're listening on the podcast, just leave us a rating, leave us some comments, help our podcast keep growing. If there's anything we can do or cover, let us know, guys. And otherwise, yeah, we just really thank you for being on, the guys that are on tonight, the guys that listen to this later, guys and gals. I need to do a better job of saying that. We just really appreciate it, and we got a lot of good stuff coming, so content might slow down, but it's going to be high quality, and we got a lot of variety coming. So just look forward to that, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas for sure, because we'll be on, when will it be? The 28th? What day is today?
I don't even know. Monday.
Yeah. Next Monday will definitely be after Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everybody. And we'll see you next Monday.